on our way into the studio to do another interview. And this is a woman whom I've worked with. I still work with her. Her name's Monica Black. She's just absolutely brilliant at what she does. She's an excellent strategist. She's the type of person who can take all those thoughts that are jumbled up in your head and she'll organize them, put them on paper and show them to you, and you're just like, wow, I didn't know I had all that in there. And for somebody like me, that's important. So I'm anxious to hear some other strategies and tips and techniques that she has for other people, because to me, she really is the ideal woman thriving fearlessly. Hi, I'm Erica Gilchrist, the Unstoppable Woman, and welcome to this segment of WTF, Women Thriving Fearlessly. And today we have a very special guest. I'm really excited about it. We have Miss Monica Black. She is a leadership catalyst and co-founder of TandemSpring Consulting. Hi, Monica. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I appreciate you being here. All right. So tell us, Monica, what exactly does TandemSpring do?
So at the core, we say we're about strength, strategy, and action. And what we really mean by that is we are all about tying amazing people to their strengths so they can strategize more effectively about who they are and how they want to operate in the world around them so that they can actually move into action. Because we find so many people are stuck in their lives and in business because they're oriented around that deficit model, right? Okay. And so they're stuck not knowing where to go or how to move because that deficit model sort of leaves you in a hole. So we're like, let's switch that strength, strategy, action. We're all about helping people to find their authentic selves in leadership and drive that into their business strategy for amazing, impactful opportunities in the world.
Okay, so give me a really good example of an ideal client for TandemSpring.
Oh, goodness. You know what? It's really somebody who is on that journey to figuring out what they want to do next. They're sort of on that passion high, but they don't know how to go. I almost want to stand up and just say, like, they're at the edge of the cliff and they don't know, like, what am I going to do? Who am I going to do? Who's going to jump off with me? I know I really want to do this, but I'm terrified. That's when you call TandemSpring. See, TandemSpring, because we spring forward with you. And so we jump with you in partnership to say, you go, you take that next step, you get to where you need to go. Yeah.
Awesome. I love your energy. All right. So talk to me a little bit about some challenges that you experience when you're building your business.
Wow. So the first major challenge I think you have in any business is coming into your own sense of leadership. And I think that while we own that as much as we can within TandemSpring, and we certainly had spent many, many hours in our own professional development, there's always new levels of awareness and things that you didn't know about that you need to prepare for. And so when you really sit down to it and say, you know, we want to run a business and we want to set our own goals, you know, it's easier to go to a consultant to ask for help or to be a consultant even, than it is to always do it yourself. So it's that personal development, that own accountability that you have to continue to every day that you wake up, lead by example, and be the type of person that can honestly say, you know what, I've been there, done that, let's go. And to give other people that space of safety and just comfort in knowing that they've got the right partner who successfully navigated that space previously.
So are there any unconventional methods you can think of that you use to move TandemSpring forward?
I love that question. Unconventional, yes. I think we would say we're just sort of unconventional, a little anti-establishment, and that just makes sense if you're driving from authentic intentionality, right? Because that establishment is designed to be from, well, let's be honest, a little bit of bullshit. There's like a little bullshit factor up in there. Yes, non-traditional ways of engaging. We are all about, somebody once asked me, they said, how do you know when you're successful? And I'm like, well, so there's outcomes and there's client achieving their goals and there's how much revenue did you increase, so forth and so on. And then there's just smiling, laughing, and dancing. And so when we work with people, anytime we get to those success moments and you see that spark go off and say, right, just and then wake up, what? And so we all just break out into a dance and then we get back to revenue and how much did we accomplish. But that's just it. You have joy when you think about that. You have joy in that moment. And who doesn't need somebody to like dance in the street with them, right?
Right. Very nice. Oh my goodness. So who was your biggest influence?
Oh my God.
In a positive way.
In a positive, right. Well, so I would honestly say my dad is really my rock. Long story short, I'm a 5'4" high jumper. At my highest, I jumped about 6'2". And that becomes relevant because I was always sort of, I was always showing up at the track meet and everybody's like, what are you going to do? Hold the bar? Are you here to straighten out the mat? What are we doing here?
Wow.
And my dad was always the person who I really think with his own natural sort of supportive nature. It wasn't, oh, give me a hug. It wasn't overly encouraging. He's just like, so how'd it go? I'm like, it went well. Could you do anything different? Yeah, I think I would do X, Y, and Z different, Dad. It's like, as long as you learn something. I'm like, right. There was just always this constant sort of growth and thoughtfulness and being prepared for what was next. And that became a force in my life because really, I didn't have a lot of support. The women in my family were quite competitive with one another and still are to this day. So there's not like that strong feminine support system. So had I not had my dad, especially being a female athlete, my family on my dad's side has a lot of female athletes, I would have just been sort of too oddball out to keep my own sense of self. But he just grounded that and let me know it was okay to be me and it was okay to be that amazing being who I am.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So I love that. Your dad sounds like somebody I'd like to know. That is just
he
awesome.
Is. Can I tell you? My dad, so I have the dad where people just go like, oh, your dad. I'm like, he's cool, ain't he? Yeah. Like, they're just like, he's cool. I'm like, yeah.
I've never met him and I'm like, oh, he's cool.
Yeah.
That's hot.
Yeah, I do love my dad.
All right. So let's think backwards a little bit. So what is something that you wish you would have known when starting your business that you know now?
Such good questions. So something that I wish I would have known. You know what? I wish I would have known, and I already knew somewhat, that it was okay to be unapologetically me. But I wish I would have known that I had to really be unapologetically, and I mean, I don't give a damn. Do what you do. I do what I do.
Right, and it's
okay. And I love doing what I do, and I'm going to wake up in that spirit every day, regardless of what you say to me. And, just having that cycle truly mastered, that's what I would have known. And I knew it, but there's always higher levels of knowing it and operating in it that you continuously are challenged by when you're like, oh my gosh, so I just opened a business and I've got an office. And so you're saying I have to generate all that revenue to pay for everything and to pay for my family and to take all that on. It's like, okay. And you don't even have to have the perfect business strategy to do it.
Right.
You've got to be qualified and skilled at what you're doing. And you've got to stretch your wings a little bit more. And the way I had to stretch most naturally, because I'm so into my work and I'm such a doer, I did have to stretch my drive towards revenue. And I have the capacity to do that. I'm very goal-oriented, but like, ooh, right, that's all my responsibility. And I did want that, but oh my God, I got to really want it now. It's just next level.
Exactly. Yeah. So that brings me to a very good point. So you were talking about your dad being your great influence.
Yeah.
I'm sure growing up, there were things that were expected of you.
Oh.
And I want to know what are some things that were expected of you, but you knew that they were not in alignment with who you are.
Woo! Oh, how much time do you have?
What?
So, for me, quite honestly, there were many things that were expected of me that were not in alignment with who I was. And a lot of that came through my mother's energy. Long story short, she's the youngest of 11 of my grandparents who were both deaf. And so that just becomes very important when you think about culturally, what was going on in the 40s and 50s. And so the stereotype would have been you're deaf, dumb, and stupid. And, you're deaf, dumb, black, and stupid, right? So there were just a lot of stigmas around that. So my mom is a very powerful woman who's driven by social justice and her own version of like what African Americans were to do next after the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. She thought, oh, y'all said we wanted to go move to the right neighborhood. She was like, yes, and you couldn't tell her no. I mean, so Marie, that's not going to happen anyway. Right. Uh-huh. Like, so around the corner, over the house, under the ground, whatever, we were going to find a way to do it. So we were the first blacks to move into an all-white neighborhood. And as one of my high school buddies called me one day and said, did you see that episode on 90210 when they had, and I was like the black girl? He's like, yeah, I thought of you. I was like, yeah, yeah. Right. So that was the high school that I went to. I share all this to say that there are a lot of expectations culturally for me as a female. I was the tomboy female, so I was never going to pink it and shrink it. I hated lace. The minute I could tear that lace, I was like, oh my gosh, get this off of me. I don't want it on me anymore. The dresses, the minute I could take those off, I was like, I can't do cartwheels in dresses. I don't understand why I have these on. So I didn't buy one until I was like in my 20s, until I realized, wow, it's just easier because it's one piece of clothing rather than three. There were all kind of gender expectations around that. I had to convince my dad. I strategized one day about how to convince my dad to let me mow the lawn because my parents kept splitting the household chores according to gender, and I was never allowed to mow the lawn, and I desperately wanted to mow the lawn, tar the driveway, and paint the garage. So I had a showdown with my father in the yard with the lawnmower, where I'm sitting there and he's like, Monica, what are you doing? I was like, mowing the lawn. And he was like, no, David's going to do that. That's my brother's name. He's like, David's going to do it. I was like, is he really? And my dad just looked at me and he went, good point.
Nice.
Go ahead. See? And so there was just like these moments where I got free and I was just able to start moving through the world in a way that was more natural for me. So all this comes back to the reason why I told you about my mom is because I think my mom grew up in a world where there were so many you can'ts and you can'ts and you can'ts as a woman that she was trying to raise me in a little bit of a modern time. In the 80s, she's trying to raise me but keep me safe. So she's empowering me but trying to keep me safe. It's the safety that I don't want. Right. My spirit's just like, wow. I was like, what? Yeah. So my spirit's doing that automatically. And so she's trying to keep me safe. And I'm like, get off. Yes. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you holding me back? Right. So she and I sort of always had this tug of war. My dad, actually, this goes back to your first question. I was very blessed to always travel because both my parents were educators. So every summer we traveled. My mom's a foreign language teacher. She knows sign language, Spanish, and French fluently. And she was already taking African-American kids, over to France before, study abroad programs were even in existence. And she's doing this with high school kids. So very groundbreaking in that sense. But so we end up in Rome. And my parents Venice. We're in Venice, and my parents can't figure out how to navigate through the small streets because they look like alleys. And so they're not following the map. And I was like, I'm 15. Right. Can you give me the map? And my mom was like, you couldn't possibly know. And I was like, could you please give me the map? So I'm duking it out with my mom in the alley in the streets of Venice. My dad is finally like, Marie, just give her the map. Right. So I take the map and I'm like, come on, let's go. Doo-doo. And I'm walking through the streets and I get us exactly to where we want to go in less than 10 minutes. And my dad just went, I don't know how my daughter just did that. I don't understand, but all I know is I trust that. Nice. And that's what grounded me and I didn't even know it because he didn't tell me that that's how he knew that I had my own sense of truth until about 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm 40. So he didn't tell me that until recently, but all I knew is that if I needed to move in my truth, my dad was okay with it. Nice. My mom was on the side having panic attacks. She's like, I don't know how you did it. And then she's like, and that terrified me. So then she didn't want me to ever do it again because it scared her.
The safety wasn't there.
Exactly.
Right.
And so it just was like, so there's this always trying to quiet me and hold me back and not let me operate in what I know, not because I don't know it, but because she can't figure out how I do know it.
Wow.
So eventually I'm like, I'm going to have to just get comfortable with the fact that you don't know, and it may not be for you to know this lifetime. But I got to keep going because my spirit, right, is still
Right.
like,
What?
right, and I'm still ready to go.
Good grief. So now that leads me to ask you, so give me 2 major decisions that you had to make that were really tough for you in order for you to come into your own.
Yeah. So mom, you got to go. I took her to dinner. I said, I've done enough. And I went through all my accomplishments in life to that date and the ways that I thought I had honored everything that she had given to me in my journey, and me trying to give back to her what I thought she most needed to feel secure. And then I told her, I said, but I understand you're not ever going to be secure with me because you're not secure in yourself. And I need that work to be yours. And I can't burden that anymore. At this point, you've had 30 plus years of my life, 2 graduate degrees, state championships, top awards at University of Michigan in track and field, and as an academic. I was like, and you took those moments from me as if they were your own because you needed them for some reason. And I hope that they serve their role. But that's all you get.
And what was her response to that?
She cried and she said, I know. And she said, I know and I will. And I said, but I really need you to honor that because there's a lack of accountability that she has that she'll say I know in the moment and then I'll watch her go away and the next 3 steps don't look like I know. Don't look like I'm about to follow that.
Like I knew in that moment 3 seconds ago, but this moment is different.
That's right. And so, I gave it to her, but I had to give it to her knowing that it may never happen. And to this day, it still hasn't happened. And
you're okay with that?
I'm totally okay with it. But I had to go through a spiritual death of my mother to let her go. And to say, see you next lifetime. And it doesn't mean I never see her physically, but it means like in that sort of, how mothers and daughters may connect, hopefully most do, or as kids connect with their parents or whomever it is that's supporting them, I had to stop seeking that from her so I could be my most truest and authentic self. So that was step number 1. And then step number 2 was that I left corporate America. Corporate America just didn't allow me to make values-based decisions, which are very central and core to me. When I worked in corporate America, I watched hierarchy, systems and processes horribly wound people that I really respected and cared about. And I thought, so I get you're paying me, but you're going to pay me to hurt somebody else to stroke your ego?
Right.
There's not enough money in the world.
Right.
I could go do this on my own, and I'm pretty certain I could avoid most of this mess and madness.
And most people see corporate as that safety. I'm going to get a paycheck on this day. I know how much it is. I'm going to have benefits.
Right.
I know who it is I'm working with. And for them, that level of comfort is a form of safety.
I'm so glad you said that. I was out, talking to my better half and my wonderful partner. We were at one of his, social functions, and I was meeting with this woman for the first time, and, she was telling me how she really wants to do theater, but she's got whatever job she has now. And so I told her my story, and this is me journeying out of corporate America, going back to graduate school, overhauling my life to get to my purpose and passion, right? And she said, oh my gosh, you really took a risk. And I looked at her and I said, no, you're taking the risk. And I went, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And she said, no, it's okay. And I said, I didn't mean it. No. She said, no, let it go. And I was just like, exactly for what you said. People think the risk is leaving. And I'm like, the risk is staying, knowing every day that you're waking up to something that you don't want to be a part of, don't enjoy being in. You're not deriving enough joy to even get through the day on, let alone go home and take care of your family and your community and whoever else is sort of pulling on you or needs your joy in their life in a more positive way. And you're going to sign up for that day after day, month after month, year after year, to get a paycheck, to keep up, for many people, unfortunately, I think, with a lifestyle that is based on standards set by somebody else and not by what they really want. And so the whole thing is just maddening when you think about risk and what risk is. So yes, I have my own business now. And do I make as much money as I could get paid in corporate America? Probably not. Do I make more money than I could get paid as an academic? Yes. Do I have sanity? Yes. Do I have joy? Yes. Do I work with people I enjoy working with and I get something back from? Yes. So it's like check.
Right.
And so the rest of it is that the money will come. Because if I'm naturally designed to do what I'm doing and I'm owning my strengths, then I'm the best at what I do. And so there's going to be people who genuinely want to partner with that. Right. And I'm genuinely supposed to be the one who's supposed to partner with them. So for all the marketing strategies and the talk about, this and that and who you have to do, and you have to go to this event, you have to go to that event, you have to try on this, you have to look the part and do all these other different things, then there's purpose, passion, and living in your authentic self and seeing what the universe brings back to you. And it takes a little bit longer to walk your way into making money and generating revenue. But when you get there, it is so much easier to maintain that you would never want to risk putting it back in that other model where you could, it's, here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Women thriving fearlessly.
Try.
What? Okay. So, women, people, but women especially have that voice. Right. In their head that says to them, like, what are you doing? You know you're not going to excel at this. You know you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
So what advice would you have for women to say to that voice?
Fuck you. I really do. I say, you know what? Every time you hear that voice, say, stop it. I'm going to need you to sit down. I'm going to need you to sit down. And I'm going to need you to replace that voice with something that's positive. Again, that deficit-oriented model has us wired. That voice has been operating in our minds for 30, 40, 50 years, however old we are, right? And so you need to tell it to sit down, take a back seat. If you can't kick it out, right? Like kick it out the movie theater, just boom, blow through it. And then you need to replace it with all the other voices from the moments of joy that you've had in your life. So go back to the beginning, recount the joyful moments. Who were you in the joyful moments, right? Because in the joyful moments, you didn't see anything negative. You were like, I'm great, I'm awesome, yeah. And you were, right? So replay those.
Right.
And so wake up in the morning and look at yourself and say, I'm great, I'm awesome, and say all these positive things. And why not, right? Because you can either be your own cheerleader or wait for somebody to cheerlead for you, which we know what that means and where that goes. So you might want to not wait for that.
Right.
Do it yourself. And in that space, you're not only will you find your joy, you'll find so much joy that other people will be attracted to it.
That's right.
And you'll have more energy to give out that joy. So one of the things I do when I wake up when I'm having a bad day is I literally go around and I say, I'm going to give 5 other women a compliment. I'm like, oh, you look so nice today, Eric. I just want to tell you that. And then that just like shifts my mood, right? From that negative to that positive.
And they give it back to you. They give you that loving energy back.
Exactly. Exactly. So you recycle, you have to like flip your cycle because you're over here and you're stuck on this, like, I feel like a gerbil on a wheel, right? You have to flip it and turn it on over here. And over here, it's not gerbil on a wheel. It's like we're walking around the world and we've got like all these powerful women walking with us and walking behind us. And now I can connect to all this amazing energy that's out there. I don't feel alone. I don't feel isolated. I feel like I'm on my way and I'm about to do it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it.
It's done.
Done.
Done. Right. So I'm just going to, for total transparency, Monica and I have worked together on a number of occasions. And I think that you are just the epitome of women thriving fearlessly. And I know that it was a journey for you to get there. Yeah. And there are many women who are still on that journey. And we want them to honor that journey and not dismiss it.
Right.
What would you say is the one thing? I know you have many, but what is like the one thing you would want people to take away from this interview?
Oh, wow. I would really say at the end of the day, you just got to walk in your own brilliance, and you've got to be ready to do it and do it now. You can either decide to wake up tomorrow and do what you've been doing, or when you say that you love yourself and you put yourself first and you do it not because you're ego-driven, but because you're purpose-driven and you're driving towards a collective end and you understand the value of what that means to you, that you will actually just go do it. And if you need somebody to jump off the cliff with you, go find that person.
Right.
But you need not wait any longer. And I think it's the waiting cycle, it's the turnaround time that it takes us to do that slows the inevitable down. Get back to your most truest sense of self. In my journey, I had to go back to the teenager in me who was footloose and fancy free, and people were like, oh my gosh, you have so much energy. And I'm like, right. So I had to go back to that person and learn to live from there and to drive my business model from there, because that's where my truest of talents were. So to be more clear, unlock yourself from the social ways in which you've been socialized. Get back to what you know to be true. You were not wrong about it. You were right. Wake up tomorrow, live within that truth, make decisions step by step, even though you don't necessarily know where you're going or how it's going to go. Make decisions step by step through your joy, through your happiness, through your laughter, through your dancing, and get to where you need to go. Because we need you to be in the right place. Because while I said, I have this, I don't have what you have. I may not even want what you have. Erica got a lot of energy. So she got more than me. So I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I want to do this. But I need you to be in a place to do what you do best, so that when I need you, you can actually be there. I already know you, so I know I'm coming to Erica for X, Y, and Z. I need you to be ready for me. Right? And I need you to be ready for the next person that I send to you.
We need each other.
So, exactly.
Absolutely. And the energy that you're displaying, this is just you. It's not an act for the camera or anything like that.
I kind of wish it was, because it's like I wouldn't be so all over the place. But no, I'm all over the place. I do it.
That is Monica. That is just how she is. And I
Yes.
absolutely love that energy. And it's great to be around that type of contagious kind of energy. I love it. But I don't want to put you in a box. I know that there's other things that you do besides TandemSpring, and you contribute your strengths to that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So, well, it was through the journey in TandemSpring, because that was something I actually incubated TandemSpring while I was finishing up my doctorate. And along that journey, I started doing like these program design development stuff. That's my creative energy. And I love it, love it, love it. It's so much fun to partner with people. And they're like, I've got a vision. I'm like, tell me what it is. I want to know every last juicy detail. And then we map it out, and they're like, oh, I can communicate that to someone else. I'm like, right. And you can raise money and do a program and so forth and so on. So I really enjoyed that. But there was still something missing for me, because many of the people that I worked with in that space still didn't have their own sense of leadership. Like I just spoke with somebody yesterday, and they've got an idea to do their own nonprofit. It's actually a really cool idea. And I said, so, and then when I looked at their title, they put themselves as project manager. So I said, so tell me about that. And they started telling me about what the project manager does. I said, why are you not the executive director? And she went, oh. I was like, what is that?
Right, exactly.
So I think I know because of the way that we've been socialized as women and the way that we've been harmed over the years in our journey, we've been taught that men are to lead. We've been taught that to lead is to be that hierarchical model, and we don't want to represent or reflect that. And so we have to do our journeying through that to get to a positive place of authentic leadership, so that although we know our strengths and talents, when we show up with them, we're not hiding behind like the tree. We're not over in the corner like, my strengths are, unless my strength is to be quiet. Like some people's strengths are to be, that wonderful voice of like quietness. I love that. But they're like hiding their strengths, or they show up and they're like, I'm really good at this, but nobody in the room knows it, because they're like got it underneath a veil. And so it's like, I need you to like at least be shining bright enough that I'm like, right there, right? You got it? Okay, come on up. What's your fee? Okay, yep, that's within budget. Okay, let's start, right? Because it's like we don't have to, the time to move is now. And so I share all this to say that I started getting into coaching, which, so I'm living in purpose and passion. I'm having a lot of fun. And then there's coaching. And I love coaching because I love unlocking those moments. Like I said before, I love jumping off the cliff with somebody to say that you have a partner to do this. And then, you do the dancing in the air and all that stuff. You're like, look at me, I hit a pose. Right. So I love all those moments. But it's also to ensure that every woman gets to where she needs to go, that every person gets to where they need to go in their life and journey, so that we don't have people, you can see it when you walk down the street and somebody looks up and they say hi, and you see that sadness and you're like, you're about 3-4 years back? Oh no, 8. You're 8 years back? Got it. They know it, you know it. And it saddens me that we get comfortable living with that gap. And then people have to sign up for job A or job B or job C that they know they don't want. They didn't want it when they showed up for the interview, but they feel like they have to take it on. Wow. And I think that that's the sadness that sort of causes the world to go round and round and round. And we just don't have to. We don't have to keep signing up for that journey. So that's the coaching part. And then to keep ourselves true to ourselves, we also do run our own ventures. So there's Las Caras Lindas that we're in the midst of doing a name change for, but Beautiful Faces, nonprofit startup organization focusing with African American and Latina adolescent girls to help to define themselves as women so that they become their truest and most fully authentic selves. It shouldn't have to be that we wait until we're 30 or 40 to figure that out. Yes. I don't see why we can't raise the next generation of youth on a model that says, you know.
Right.
I saw you just look at the teacher like, I know you're not going to convince me to be somebody else I don't want to be. Mm-hmm. I can be this person and still make it in the world, can't I? And then waiting for an adult to go, yeah, you can.
Right.
And we don't tell them that, by the way, if your passion is cars and you're a young woman and you want to get into that career, that's a possible career for you. We keep telling them these corporate careers, and there's all these other careers out here and pathways that we know about, but we on career day don't talk about it, don't bring those people to show them that, by the way, I'm 45 and I've had 5 to 7 careers, and isn't that great? And I made money doing all of them. And if the young people knew that, they'd be like, what?
Right.
Or like the fact that there's some young woman out there who's really detail oriented. I'm thinking of even like you, like you're very, very wonderfully detail oriented. What does that young person do? They're probably getting teased by their peers for being so detail oriented, probably doing well in school, but they're not they don't really know what job that strength in being detail oriented and organized leads to. I remember the day I realized I can get paid to help somebody get organized. Like, this is what I do in my sleep.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I just did those chores because I like being organized, I like cleaning my room, But I'm like, I can make a career out of that. I could have started my own business when I was young, the whole closet. Like, I sew in the back of my head. It was like, yep, if I can't make this work, I'm so going to be closet fixer-upper girl. So that's the energy behind which that lives. And then the other one, for me right now, my life, purpose and passion is centered around helping women to thrive. And so it's called Diamond, and we say cracking the code on women in finance, because we really feel it's the last frontier. Women are coming up in the workforce. They're the number one sort of force within the workforce now in comparison to males. You're seeing women take over in leadership positions. We're going to see that continue to increase. We've got to make certain, again, that, Young Girls program, that's designed to make certain we've got diverse women at the table, so that's represented. But Diamond is really about saying we've now got to talk about money, and that's something that women historically have not been allowed to talk about, regardless of how much money you've actually made. And I'm talking from women who are living paycheck to paycheck, to women who run their own companies, to women who have 35 million in net worth. A lot of these women have not been able to have open conversations about money, and finance treats them as all the same. And in the same, not positively, but, oh, sweetie, it's okay, we'll take care of your money. And I think, that's just, What do they do? I don't know, it's on SNL. They're like, ill.
Like, ill.
Ill.
Right.
So they do that. No, that's Jamie, it's one of the talk show hosts. But, so I don't like that experience, and that's very driven from just women. If we're going to rise and we are making most of the financial decisions within the household, then we should be, and oftentimes are the primary sort of account holder, but we're not getting the respect for it. And so the banks aren't taking as strategic of a position in our relationship, so we're not maximizing our money potential, our investment potential, whatever it is, however we're thinking about 401k, retirement funds, be it, investing in the stock market, mutual funds, whatever it is, we're not maximizing that because we're not socialized to have the conversation. Right. The institutions don't look at us as a valued partner. And we're not able to sort of build a community of support and system of support around that would allow us to engage in a way that's meaningful for us.
Right. Now, I know 2 minutes, I'm somewhat of a mind reader. So I know 2 minutes into the interview, there were people who were watching and they're like, yeah, how do I find her? Tell me how to get in contact with you. So let our viewers know how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So really, I am Facebook, email. Those are the best ways. If my phone number is on the website, text me. Don't leave a message. Text me because I don't have time to go back and find the message. So mblack@tandemspring.com, Facebook, TandemSpring, or Monica Black. And, really, I believe that you meet people when you need to meet people. Yeah. So I look forward to meeting you when it's time for us to meet.
I know that's right. I absolutely know that's right. Monica, thank you so much. It has been, I'm loving this energy. So Monica, thank you for joining us here on Women Thriving Fearlessly.
Love it.
And thank you all so much for watching this segment. We'll see you soon. One of the things that stuck out the most to me about this interview was Monica's decision to sever ties with someone who was very close to her. And for you, in order to live your life under your own terms and to be truly authentic, you may find yourself faced with decisions that you never thought you'd have to make. You may find yourself wavering, going back and forth, and indulging people who have no desire to see you grow and succeed anyway. So at what point do you say, me first? Wherever that point is, you're not going to get there operating from a place of complacency and self-doubt. You're worth more than that. But no matter how many times I say it to you, it means nothing if you don't believe it. I'm Erica Gilchrist, the Unstoppable Woman, speaker, author, and trainer. And thank you so much for watching this episode of WTF. While you're here, go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel and be sure to share the video on all your social media networks and with your friends. And until we speak again, thrive fearlessly.